Men who fenced stolen diamonds sentenced to more than 15 years. Five men who purchased jewelry stolen from traveling diamond salesmen have been sentenced to a combination of 180 months in federal prison in order to pay more than 7 million in restitution. Okay, so the men fenced jewelry obtained in robberies committed by a so-called South American theft robbery group with the initials SATG, a violent criminal enterprise that targeted traveling jewelry salesmen nationwide. But first, we're going to head over to the original indictment of. So back in between 2016 and 2018, through multiple indictments, the U.S. Attorney's Office charged a total of 20 SATG robbers who targeted traveling diamond and jewelry salesmen throughout the United States. All 20 have been convicted and sentenced. So this falls back to the actual people who were pulling the heist, they're doing the actual stick-ups, and what they're talking about today is the actual people who fenced it for them. You have to have a fence with that type of actual weight, with that type of actual value. You're talking the millions of dollars. So I'm going to actually be speaking on the actual fencers, the actual people who actually got rid of it for them and bought the actual jewelry, right? So I'm going to give out names to keep it from being confused, okay? So the first name is a 51-year-old Rome who pled guilty in March 2020 to engaging in a conspiracy to launder money. He was sentenced to 32 months in federal prison and ordered to pay almost $2.5 million in restitution. He has already paid back approximately 230,000 towards the victims of his crime. Now, his co-conspirator by the name of Elkin, 46-year-old, and actual Mono, 29, who both pled guilty in 2019 to the same charges as Mr. Rome, were previously sentenced to 68 months and 63 months, respectively. Mono was ordered to pay 1.7 million in restitution, while uh, Elkin was ordered to pay 1.3 million dollars. And now this other individual by the name of Pink, 6-year-old, who pled guilty to engaging in 2019 to conspire to transport stolen goods in interstate commerce, was sentenced to 27 months in federal prison in order to pay back just a little bit over $1 million in restitution. The other individual is Yuri, 49-year-old, who conspired with Mr. Pink, pled guilty to misprison concealment of a felony and was sentenced to probation. He has already paid the entirety of a 1.9 he owed in restitution. He already paid that off. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Or by force, I should say. According to court documents, the men were involved in laundering money for a band of violent jewel thieves, including several who robbed a traveling jewelry salesman at gunpoint before beating him to death in Irving, Texas. In plea papers, Mr. Elkin admitted that he regularly flew from his hometown in Bogota, Colombia, to Texas in order to meet up with the actual robbers to purchase stolen jewelry. He then traveled to New York to melt down the jewelry before they arranged the actual sale of it either in the United States or back in his native country of Colombia at his shop. So he was a jeweler out there. And in 2018, special agents from the FBI Dallas Violent Crime Task Force arrested Elkin at a New York airport upon his entry into the country after his arrival from Bogota. They already had tail him. They already had him under his radar, right? Mono, a Queens, New York resident who went by the name Mono, admitted he connected with Elkin with the robbers and helped broker the sales. On one occasion, he handed one of the robbers a bag of cash in exchange for several stolen Rolex watches. He admitted he knew the jewelry was stolen and took a portion of the illicit proceeds. Elkin, along with Mono, admitted he traveled from his home in Miami, Florida, to Texas and other states in order to purchase stolen diamonds from the actual robbers. So these guys were all over the United States, knowing he could turn a profit by reselling the jewelry. He purchased items below market value, making upfront cash down payments to the robbers and funneling cash payments through aiders and abettors in Colombia. Bankers, in other words, bankers. Mr. Pink admitted that he helped move stolen diamonds across state lines from Texas to Florida and New York. Pink admitted to purchasing stolen diamonds and jewelry from Colombian, that actual that stick up crew, since 2015. And this is a different one. Mr. Ali, a prominent jewelry dealer in New York, West 47th Street Jewelry and Diamond District, admitted he agreed to purchase stolen diamonds from Mr. Pink, who had acquired jewelry worth of $1 million from this actual stick of crew members. Wow. Mr. Pink, who owned a jewelry store in Miami, sent the diamonds to Mr. Ali. The two men agreed to share the profits if they were fruitful. Shortly after receiving the jewelry, Mr. Pink, Mr. Ali sent back a $500,000 in cash. However, the pair learned that the FBI was investigating. They agreed to never speak about the matter again. Yeah, I don't know how they got wind. Well, when somebody got busted, somebody said something. You know what I mean? So yeah, they were. Somebody had fallen and they gave up a lot of information on this actual cruise. These two different crews. You know what I mean? And then they were also prosecuted under the Hobbs Act because they crossed state lines. But like I've said in other videos, especially when you're dealing with actual jewelry or actual arms or paintings, arts, you have to have a fence already in place, or else you're going to be stuck with a lot of valuables in your possession. And that's a big risk because you need to move that as soon as possible. And if you have the right fencers, that's when you can become actually successful. But if you don't have any kind of plan after you actually produce the heist, what good is it? You're gonna get caught, and you're not gonna get anything out of it. That's with arms, um, any kind of vehicle racket, any kind of money laundering, any kind of that jewelry. You have to have somebody to actually fence it for you. Okay, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe.